All right, here we are back once again. Just got off of that podcast with Azure and Torval, and sorry that I am running late. I guess you should come to expect that when dealing with my podcast air times. So I do apologize for that. And today we are going to have a very, very, very special guest, fucking awesome dude, Bill Duvendack, with us. Thank you for being here, Bill.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Me too. Me too. So how's your week been? What's been going on in your neck of the woods?
It's been good. It's been good. Just kind of moving right along. I was researching some stuff before doing this for some new projects to roll out, but otherwise it's just business as usual, which is good.
What kind of projects? Is that anything that you can share or elaborate on a little bit?
Not really, but it's mostly because I'm still in the research stage.
Okay.
But there are going to be some new things coming down the pipe for 2018. New
Awesome.
digital things.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. It's always good to be planning ahead and a plan, you know, to follow, an outline to follow so that you know where you're going.
Yeah, and like any magician, it's always good to remember the fourth power of the Sphinx to conceal.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, that's one of the things that I need to work on, because I like to talk a lot, and when I get excited about something, I want to throw it out there, even when it's really not the right time, and end up, you know, self-sabotaging. And so I need to keep that in mind. So I'm glad you mentioned it. Very glad you mentioned that.
But yeah, they are digital projects. They'll be rolling out after the first of the year sometime, either around the first of the year or around spring equinox.
Okay, so that's coming up fairly quickly then. That's awesome.
Yep. Other than that, just enjoying the success of the new book.
Yeah, man, I bet. And that's I have it actually right here, and I've been reading through it, and it is fucking awesome. I have not made it all the way through yet because, as I told you, I really I don't have the freedom to be able to read it when I want to read it and that kind of thing without starting some big fight of bullshit crap. So I have to kind of read it when I have me time, and this is not something that I would really want to read in the bathroom, you know.
Right.
Special things for that. This is not one of those.
No, not at all.
But I'm really, really excited to get into a lot of these rituals and these meditations, especially the Melik Taos one. You know, I really had never heard of the correlation, you know, between Lucifer and the peacock, or really between Lucifer and its Prometheus, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I guess that you were able to put these correlations together just through a lot of research and going back through history and kind of seeing these similarities and these different attributes that each one of these deities or energies have, and that they share. There's commonalities that they share.
Yeah, and I was inspired by different people throughout the years to look for those connections. You know, Thomas Carlson's done some work with talking about when Prometheus became correlated to Lucifer, and that kind of opens the floodgates for everything else. It was several centuries ago when it happened, but when you hear someone else that's established that has that kind of idea, it inspires you to do your own research. And then you come up with all kinds of connections that nobody's really made up to this point.
And what was your, or what is your relationship with Lucifer? I mean, has it always been a very intimate, strong, close relationship, or is that something that has come to pass and blossomed here in the past few years, or how is that working?
It's come to blossom in the last few years. It hasn't always been like that, but one of the reasons for it is I didn't spend a lot of time working with him. It's a fairly new development in my path over the last few years, and it's more or less corresponded to the activity of the Temple of Ascending Flame too. So it was kind of fed through a temple context, which is always good.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm super
It's
interested
developing
in
great
too. I really am. I want to look into that a lot more closely because that really seems like that is my alley with Lilith and the Ma, Lucifer, Samael, all of those. You know, I know that I would really dig it, but I know it's a lot of work too, and it's a lot of dedication.
It is. There's the initial projects, which are 7 and 11 weeks, but then every week it's usually a 6-day project. So it does require some dedication. It does require some discipline and some schedule juggling too, but it's worth it.
So you don't have to just go to church on Sunday for an hour and show up and.
Well, you can if you want to, but if you're going to do that, light a candle for Lucifer while you're there.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I have to say, you know, the average American or the average anyone, I guess, if you want to get into like commitment and what it's really going to take to get somewhere, they're really not too many people are willing to invest more than just that 1 hour of going somewhere, sitting down, being brain dead, and standing up and sitting down 20 times, and then thinking about how hungry you are and when you're going to get to go eat lunch afterwards or something. You know, they don't realize how difficult this path is and how much work goes into it, and how much self-transformation and growth and just everything, all the mechanics involved and all the sacrifice of time that's involved in walking these paths. I mean, it's really, really a lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, and it's what I enjoy is that it kind of cuts the armchairs from the workers. So there's a certain degree of purity that goes with it that you don't find in other paths.
Right, sure. Yeah, you have the people that are putting it to practical use and not really just able to recite this verse or that verse. They know this information or that information, but do they apply it? No. Does it really mean anything to them? No, not really, but they can talk about it all day long. I know you find a lot of those everywhere. But, you know, for me, I mean, I think that it's my whole attraction to magic in general is that you can make real life change in this physical realm through non-physical means, and it's through those types of avenues and through those types of self-initiations that this transformation takes place that allows you to align with the universe, your higher self, whatever you want to consider it, in order to manifest what you want to manifest and to really be in control of your life and your reality. And I think that is just incredible, but it's also a lot of responsibility as well. You know, is you have to really take ownership for your life in order to do this. You can't blame a God for your issues, and you can't pray to him to save you every time you fuck up and all that kind of thing. And I think that a lot of people are just really they're culture shocked by that, and they're afraid of that, afraid to take ownership and responsibility of their own lives in many ways.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I even take it to the extreme to remind people that we created the gods. And nobody should forget that. You know, I know a lot of different people on a lot of different paths. And on a lot of those different paths, there comes a point where someone thinks bowing down to the God as an intermediary, or supplicating your ego to the will of a God is seen as the way to go, and it puts the power outside of the self. Now, that's true in Christianity, it's true in paganism. I've seen it in some different traditions of the left-hand path, but I couldn't do it. No.
Yeah.
Just, no, I don't need a damn mediary to talk to the flippin' spirits. I am the mediary because I am a spirit.
Right, right. And you are a God. I mean, I see myself as
Right.
much of a God as they are, that I'm equal to them, that I stand shoulder to shoulder with them, and that they don't need to bow to me and I don't need to bow to them either. You know, it's we're all that I am just as powerful as they are. I may not have truly realized that and fully embodied it yet, but that's what my scent is all about.
Well, and you know, Crowley said it very succinctly, which is quite simply, there is no part of me that's not of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason to bow to a deity that has not earned your respect.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's a big one right there. Respect is earned, never given freely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, I think a lot of people will you know, give you that false sense of respect just for the sense of kissing your ass, or just to hear their own selves talk, or to be part of opinion or whatever else. But yeah, true respect definitely is certainly earned, and it should be. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And it's really kind of fun to think about this because there are so many different traditions on the path that you get a whole spectrum of beliefs. And the parameters that I use to see whether or not they are good paths is whether or not it is bettering the quality of the life of the individual and whether or not it's bettering their relationship with those around them. And those are pretty broad criteria, but I do it intentionally because I've met a lot of people that don't walk the same path I do, and they are having those criteria met. Now, that can also be a bitter pill to swallow. If what you're doing is not bettering the quality of your life, you need to check yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what it should be about, because it's that bringing that divine into manifestation through recognizing that you're deity.
I mean, and I guess a lot of people are going to find themselves disappointed when they have their heart set on this particular path or that particular path, and then they come to find out, well, shit, it's really not working for me. When I really look at it, you know, my life is kind of in shambles, and it doesn't really seem like it's going to change anytime soon. You know, maybe it is time that I, you know, change the route that I'm on. And in most cases, if that's happening, that's spirits trying to pull you in another direction anyway, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something that is a trend and it seems like it's going to continue, you know, there's definitely going to be lessons, and there's going to be things that you have to learn, different hardships imposed and things to overcome to make you stronger. But if it is a daily ass kicking for 2 years straight, then I guess one should come to realize that, you know, this is probably going to just be an eternal ass kicking if I don't change. This is just not for me. This doesn't resonate with me for some reason.
Exactly. It's critical thinking. Gotta love it.
Yeah, yeah. And you would think that too, that it's that it would be common sense, but I guess that's not very common anymore either. So
no, it's not. Voltaire was right.
And I was talking to Darren on the podcast prior to this one today about my mother going on the warpath again, and she goes through her little spells of wanting to watch as many of my videos as she can and send me text messages about how sick I am and how what I'm doing is not educational and that it is just sick and vulgar, and how do I take myself seriously and what did my wife and kids think about this, and that, you know, there's no way in hell my wife knows what I'm doing, and that she's going to call her and expose me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, please call her right now, please. You know, like I am asking you to do it. You know, she, just like so many, are so programmed and so indoctrinated that it really doesn't matter what I'm saying, what the message is, how I'm delivering it, what the subject matter is. If it is not within those, you know, guardrails, or in that box that she knows that is the end all be all of everything, then I'm, you know, a devil worshiping evil piece of shit that just wants to bring damnation and help Satan win souls of all of these sinners and whatnot, you know.
Woo, score.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like I'm racking them in, you know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. She was telling my stepdad, like, you should see his channel. He's got followers. And I'm like, I don't have followers, you know, like, what the fuck are you talking about? People subscribe to the channel because they want to see the content. It's not a cult. I don't have followers. Like, this is not, you know, I don't know what the hell you think this is, but it's, you know, obviously it's not what you think. And if you would pull your head out of your ass and just really take a look at it subjectively, maybe you would see that some of the things I'm saying are making sense. Some of the things I'm saying you would probably agree with. And some of the ideology is somewhat similar in some senses, you know, and you know, nothing on the Luciferian path that I walk is negative in any kind of way. It's all about empowering myself and bettering myself, being the best version of myself that I can be. What's so wrong with that?
Exactly. Well, and you know, it comes back to a phrase from the Bible. The kingdom of God is within.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So there you go. Technically, you are being a faithful, true Christian.
Yeah. Recognizing that I am a God because the kingdom of God is within me. Is that was directly from Jesus, I believe.
Exactly.
And I threw one. I had to throw one out at her the other day. This was just Wednesday, I think. So it's 2 days ago. And so obviously she was judging me harshly. And I was like, I know there is a scripture verse out there, and I couldn't quite remember it. So I Googled it. It is worth the Google. So I did that, and I was so then I found it and I texted it back to her, and I was like, you know, thou shalt not judge lest ye be judged. And she it took a while. I was like, yeah, this one's sinking in a little bit. And then she's like, oh, quote verses. And I'm like, so now you're calling me the devil. Now you are considering me to be Satan. And it's like, until just this very moment, I've never even said the word Satan on my channel, ever. I've never said hail Satan. I've never said any of those things at all. And really, you know, I know that Lucifer is very much the adversary, and it's an adversarial path, but it's, in my experience and opinion, I just really do not relate to him in that way, or in that deific mask of the Judeo-Christian version of Satan. You know, I really just don't identify with Lucifer in that way. I know that there is some correlation there, but for me personally, I've just never seen that side of him. I don't know how that is for you, what your feelings are on that.
Well, it's out there, but there's so many different masks. That's just one of them.
Right.
You know, the same way I talk to you is not the same way that I talk to others. So
Right.
it's an irrelevant point. The one thing that is present in his character in context of that belief system is that of the scapegoat. The devil made me do it is a cop out for choosing not to use your own personal power, you know? And the
Right.
reason I point this out is because the idea of a scapegoat is more tied in with a Zezel than it is
Right.
with Lucifer or Satan.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, if you can't get the right correspondence with the right deity, holy book, why should we take you seriously at all?
Right. Right.
Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then, the whole picking and choosing of what is going to be included in that text, to me, that should just really say something to you right there. I mean,
Exactly.
seriously, I mean, like, how can you take a book so literally and so much at face value that without a fact has been purposefully altered by man time and time again, and the things they didn't agree with were left out, and maybe some of the wording had changed to suit their agendas at the time and that kind of thing. How can you take that to be real, true gospel of everything and base your life on it, and fault others for not basing their life on it? I just,
Completely agree. It's over the top anymore.
it is, man. It's crazy, man. I mean,
It's the ultimate old white man terrorist tool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So alive and well, and it's, um, I just, I mean, I know how they think because I used to think that way myself. So I can certainly relate to them in a sense, because there was a time where I really truly believed that there was nothing before Christianity and there will never be anything after Christianity, and that it will last forever and ever, and it has been around forever and ever. And when you look back at it, that's not the case at all. It's 2,000 years, which is a drop in the bucket compared to hundreds or even thousands of other spiritual practices and the spirits that are out there that have been here, 10 times longer than Christianity, and they'll be here when it's dead and gone. That there's just that they put so much into that, so much of their life and their belief into it. And if they're getting something out of it, if they're really having a true spiritual experience from that belief system and that practice, then more power to them. I could never feel it, no matter how hard I tried. It's inadequate. It is disingenuine. It is cold. It's very much forced and scripted feeling. It's just not natural, and it just does not resonate with me. And how it does with them, I just can't understand that, really.
True, but by that same token, it serves a function. And that function, other than the increased spirituality, is control the masses.
Sure.
Great example of this, how it's legal here in the US, is the fact that there's 2 Christian holidays that are federal holidays, and there's no other federal holidays of any other belief system.
Right. That's true.
You want to impress me, then get rid of Easter as a federal holiday and get rid of Christmas as a federal holiday. Then I'll start to be impressed. As long as those 2 are federal holidays, it's showing the oppression that belief system can provide.
Yeah. And that's still there's no separation of church and state, really, when you think about it in that context.
Exactly.
Being there as federal holidays. And um, you know, just there's so many things to look at. And I'm not trying to just point out all these flaws with Christianity and that kind of thing. And that's not what I intended on talking about, but it just coming off of this last round of attacks from my mother. And she actually went as far as calling my mother-in-law to try to get her in on it. And she's a cradle Catholic like my wife. And, you know, she goes to mass every Saturday and she's a lector. And so she reads the liturgy every, you know, every 2 weeks or once a month or whenever her duty calls to do it. And, you know, she's a pretty devout Catholic. And I really didn't know if she really knew what I was involved in or not. I didn't know what my wife had shared with her or not shared with her. But apparently she did know, and she's very accepting and open-minded. And apparently she shut my mom down pretty quickly and you know, said that, you know, my daughters are happy, my wife is happy, I'm happy, everything is stabilizing and going great, and that my mom was in the wrong and that she needed to chill the fuck out, and that she's not going to get support from anybody else that, you know, is going to get on that hate train of me to try to you know, overpower me and push me out of this, you know, like it's something that I can just drop tomorrow and be like, oh yeah, that was cool, you know, that was fun. Like I don't believe it wholeheartedly with everything in me, that I'm just doing this, everything I do for the fuck of it, because I like to hear myself talk and I like to be on YouTube. It's like, you know, that's what my mom thinks, you know. It's like, why do you need to do that? Can't you just do it by yourself and this and that and be happy with that? Why do you got to tell everybody? Why do you got to put it out there? And she doesn't realize that, you know, it's to do these kind of things. It is a true calling. I feel a calling to share this information and to share my experiences, to try to help people that are struggling with their spiritual awakening like I did, to make it not quite as difficult and to help them make sense of it. You know, all of those kinds of things. And none of it is to stroke my ego whatsoever. I don't give a damn about any of that. But I think that she's just convinced that that is what it's all about for me.
Well, and you bring up a point, which is people that are Christian and discovering their spirituality, they're more tolerant. They can see between the lines of dogma. And this is a problem with every belief system out there. You got those that are hooked on the dogma. You've got those that can spiritually see between the lines and they don't need the dogma and they still get spiritual growth. So while we're focusing on Christianity, this is true everywhere. Lord knows I see it enough in the pagan community. So it crosses into multiple belief systems and multiple paradigms. The test, of course, is for someone to get the spiritual growth out of it without having to feel like they get hung up on the dogma.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the hard part, is to avoid the dogma. And it's hard to do when you have a society saying, oh, were you at church on Sunday? Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
That idea is ingrained in the masses. So it's used as a social barometer as much as it is a spiritual tool. You know, Karl Marx always said religion is the opiate of the masses. And I think we're finally to a point where the vast majority of people are seeing that he's right. Now, I generally don't take that hard of a stance with it, but I do agree with him. It is a tool of control. The problem is today it's out of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely think that there's so many, and my mom was one of them for years and years and years and years. And I don't think it's the case so much anymore. I think that she's more genuine in her belief system now than she was. But for the longest time, especially when she first got with my stepdad, you know, that was the only reason that she went, was to be seen, you know, so that she could say that she was there, so that other people would see that she's there. So they would formulate an opinion of her as, oh, she must be a good, upstanding, you know, citizen and a good woman because she's at church. Oh, she's doing what she's supposed to do. She is a holy Christian, wholesome woman, and especially for that hour during Sunday when she's there. I mean, who knows what the fuck she does when she walks out the door for the other 150 hours or whatever that's in the week. But what matters is that she was there, and that, it was written down in the book that she was present, and she's got that credit, buddy. You know, that's another feather in the hat. You know, thank you, God, I was here. Don't forget to count me in. I've got another 1,200 more of these to go, but I'm going to be racking them up, buddy. You know.
Yeah, and what's hysterical is that's part of the illumination of Lucifer. When you realize that it's here,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the true growth starts to occur. If you're hate-filled and bitter, no matter your belief, you best fix yourself. Because if it's one thing that's true about people that walk this particular path, is if you don't fix yourself, there's a bunch of people out there that are going to say, you need to fix yourself.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's one thing I like about this path, is it's much more direct.
Yeah. They're not going to just kind of maybe whisper behind your back and kind of be looking over at you and like, well, so-and-so's this and this, but they're coming.
The only ones that are going to do that are those dark fluff authors, like the ones that didn't have the balls to see me, to tell me things to my face at the Left Hand Path Consortium last year. Those are the only ones you're going to get that from. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. The majority of people are going to be direct with you. And that is a sign of a strong character.
Absolutely. Because that's so hard to do. I mean, that's extremely hard to do. But it's totally genuine, and it shows that you truly care about them and that you do have, and that you're legitimately concerned about them spiritually, physically, all the way around, full circle. And it is rare, because usually, like you said, you're going to have people whispering and talking behind your back. But as long as you're paying your tithing and you're doing the other things that you're supposed to do, a lot of them really just aren't going to give a shit. They'll let you do whatever you're going to do and base opinions on you and whatnot, but they're not going to necessarily kick you out of their congregation if you're paying, because that's one of the things too, of course. And speaking of control, I don't know if we talked about this before or not. Maybe we did, but are you familiar with the book, The Latent Power of the Soul?
A little bit. I've heard about it in passing. I haven't read it though.
Really, really cool book, and it's a short read. And I was actually given it this book years ago by a Christian-based therapist, and she used to be involved in the occult. She had a lot of psychic abilities and things of that nature, and she gave me a prayer for what she called a burden bearer, that would help you to close all of your psychic doorways, to seal them closed, to not allow them to blossom and be prevalent in your life. And she gave me this book to read. It's only like 130 pages long, so it's a very, very short read, but it's a very powerful read nonetheless. And it was written back in the 30s from a Christian point of view. And it's this Christian that is to his other Christian brothers and sisters, whether it's in his congregation or just Christians by and large that are going to read the book. And I think that his understanding of what is going on with these things and how it plays out and the importance of them. I think he was a fairly intelligent guy in that he kind of went back to the root origins of Adam and Eve, and he talked about how much of an advanced human being Adam was, that he was able to be omnipresent, that he was able, that that they actually, like the Garden of Eden was not just a small little area in the Middle East, that the Garden of Eden actually expanded throughout the entire globe, or whatever that mass of land was before it split apart. But he was actually able to take care of all of the vegetation and crops, all the livestock, oversee everything that was happening all over the world using his abilities, and that was taken away from him, of course, once he ate the apple and this and that and the other, if you believe in any of that ideology or not. But so basically his whole premise of the book is that we all have those great potentials locked down deep inside of us that can be awoken and they can be fostered and strengthened. But he warns about the individual doing so, because he says that those are the tools of the devil, so that you need to do everything possible to not allow that to happen, because they were taken away from Adam for a reason. And of course, in looking at it from what I understand now, that's yet another control mechanism of the church to keep you dumbed down, to keep you from realizing your true inherent power, limitless nature that everyone has within them, and to basically strip them down to where we are just a shell of a person that will believe anything anybody says, go along with the status quo. We'll pay the money you want us to pay, we'll go through our daily routines, and we'll never truly discover who we really are, who we were really meant to be. And that book just really opened my eyes to our limitless nature, and even a Christian guy in the 1930s could recognize that, and he understood that.
Well, I like it because it's a tangent on the Adam Kadmon from Kabbalism. So it's kind of a modern retelling of that. And when you've got the Torah, and when you've got the older Jewish texts, which Genesis is one of them, there's also that metaphor that we were greater and now we're not. It's completely in line with what you said, but it's a bigger scope, because it's not just referring to like each one of us perfect. It's also referring to us as a species being perfected before. So on one hand, it gives us hope. On the other hand, it reminds us of where we've fallen from. And the reason I point this out is because if you think about it, then one of the teachings in between the lines is that we are a fallen race.
How do you think that happened? I mean, why do you think that we have been stripped of these abilities?
You get 6 different occultists in a room, you're going to get 6 different answers to that. I've got a regular client, a guy I know, who claims it was, I want to say, a Zezel, I think it was, that unhooked our DNA and caused it. Some people say that it was all metaphorical because of the super civilization that existed up through the end of the last ice age. Some people say, what's that?
Like Enochians and
like what Graham Hancock writes about with a lot of the hidden history stuff.
Okay.
And then you've got the Anunnaki, then you've got the Nephilim, then you've got Enoch. So we don't know. But we got a lot of damn good stories to entertain ourselves with while we figure it out.
I mean, it seems like the Nephilim definitely existed with all the bones that they have found and the weapons that they have found. It definitely seems like that there's some truth to that. You know, whether or not they were the offspring of fallen angels and mortal women, I don't know, but they definitely seemed like they were here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we keep finding more and more archaeological evidence that says they were.
And
where they came from, what role they played, we don't know. We have legends that tell us, but even those are written in symbolism.
Why would you think the Catholic Church would remove that? What do you think?
I don't know if it was as much removed as it just wasn't known about.
Okay.
Because the only reason we know about bones and weapons and all of what you just mentioned, the only reason we know about now is through archaeological excavation. And even then, the only reason we know about it now is because of social media and our technology. Things that could be suppressed for centuries can no longer be suppressed. If you put something out on social media, regardless of whether it's right or not, it's going to go viral if it's the hot topic for the day.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen that a lot with social media. And that's a dangerous thing. On one hand, it's great because it keeps the information openly flowing. On the other hand, it makes it easier to craft your own narrative.
Now, what is your opinion on who Jesus, the man, was? And did he exist? And what was he truly?
So this is a complex answer. I do believe that a figure that Jesus is based on existed. His name was Joshua. He had a brother. His mom and dad were Joseph and Mary. He lived, he died. Mary Magdalene was his wife. She was a high priestess from the Essenes. They eventually, after the crucifixion, settled in the south of France. You've got all of that. But Jesus the Christ, it's looking more and more like it was an invention of the Romans.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to say there's probably some truth to that, especially when you look up the town of Nazarene, which he is supposedly from, and that doesn't exist.
Oh, okay.
It was something I read about many years ago. There's the Essenes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Nazarenes. So it's more like a sect.
Okay. A sect that lived in another area altogether.
Exactly.
So,
now, I kind of go hand in hand with what Greg Braden has been saying for decades, which is that character of Jesus was the first human to make a phase shift transition. And the moral of his story was that if he can do it, we can do it. It just takes time, attention, work, all of that. So as much as I see Jesus as an ascended master and initiated into a lot of ancient mysteries, I can also differentiate between Jesus the man, who was Joshua, versus Jesus the ascended master teacher.
mm-hmm.
Because then you get into the rabbit hole of theosophy and how Sananda was the guiding light that overlit Jesus's journey here on earth. And that takes us through a whole different wormhole. So I figure, like anything else, truth is stranger than fiction. So the truth is that there was Joshua and his brother and all that, but the fiction became Jesus the Christ as an archetypal teacher or savior.
So do you think he spent a lot of his life traveling and going around to different areas of the world and researching Hinduism and different other religions, trying to, find an understanding so that he could become the ultimate spiritual master?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. if memory serves me correctly, they found records in temples in India, temples in Egypt, and temples in Japan describing him.
Oh, wow.
So I see more evidence than anything else that he did travel to a lot of places, collected their spiritual wisdom, and the whole thing was one big initiatic process. That's why he was missing for 18 years of his life. Right. He was traveling around getting all of this wisdom and gnosis to bring it back and share it with people that he knew needed it.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but during that time, during the Roman Empire, when around and that kind of thing, you know, Yahweh, God as we know it at that time, really did not yet exist, but was in fact a god of war that the Romans were worshiping as such, as a god of war. I can't remember what the name of this god was, but his main attribute was that of a vengeful god of war. And that is what Christianity adopted and transmutated into what we know now as God, Yahweh, what have you.
Well, and you've got that component. And another component is that Yahweh originally started off as a minor cult of a storm god.
Okay.
So then whether it's war or storms, you still get that same vibe of someone that is emotionally stunted and throws temper tantrums as a deity.
This was all from the like a Roman worship deity.
Right. So then for the Romans, it was easy to maneuver that into political favor and political conquest.
So this is something that the priest would have done. They would have embraced this. They would have kind of changed that up and then, you know, said, this is who's going to be the main deity now. And it's going to, you know, I'm trying to, I was always was like wondered, like, you know, if that's the case, then after the crucifixion and you have, you know, was it like Peter, John, and Matthew kind of going off in their separate ways and they're trying to establish a church and that kind of thing that they also embraced to say that this new introduced or new version of this former God, this is the guy, this is our God.
And we have Akhenaten to thank for that, because he was in ancient Egypt trying to say that monotheism was the way. He got ran out of the country for it. And mysteriously, about the time any records of Akhenaten ceased to exist, you all of a sudden start seeing references to Moses.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big theory out there that I'm leaning towards, which is that Akhenaten became Moses. So he brought forward a lot of the Egyptian teachings and took it to eventually Rome, where they had the social order, but not the religion, because Mithraism was not gaining traction like they wanted. And here comes this emotional component. Well, it fits right in with their society.
You know, what about the aspect of there not ever really being any Jewish slaves in Egypt building pyramids and all of that? Do you believe that that was the case as well, that that was never a component?
It never happened. And when I was younger, of course, I was taught to believe that it was.
Mm-hmm.
But archaeology that has been unearthed in the last, I want to say 2 or 3 years, has shown that factually, evidentially, the Jews were never slaves. They play a good victim card.
Were they there at the sites?
They were. And the way they found this archaeologically is they found living quarters of the Hebrew people, and they put it in context of the greater society, and they even look for things like scuff marks or things that would show like malnutrition or being treated as second-class citizens, and none of those were there. They were treated just as regular workers.
So they were there by choice to make a wage and to make a living and so forth.
Exactly.
And do you think that they actually built these pyramids, or do you think there was some kind of paranormal or something, you know, extraterrestrial that assisted in the construction of these things, or what do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I'll say everything comes back to aliens. Now, having said that, if there was any extraterrestrial involvement, it probably had to do with, you're doing it this way, humans, here's a faster way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think they did it for us. We had to flip and do it ourselves. I think it relied on technology that we no longer know how it works. And if there was ET influence, it was them saying, look this direction, not this one, and you'll get it done. So I think we did it. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of the basic people.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm human accomplishments.
What about Jesus being an extraterrestrial?
That's a fun one.
Or whatever it is, or Sirius.
Yeah, that's a fun one that I like to play with, because here again, he was flesh and blood. There was a person named Joshua. We pretty much know that. But anything past that is speculation. I don't really think he was an alien, because there's enough of his story that's human. Usually there's going to be that extraterrestrial kind of spin on stories when it comes to extraterrestrial beings. And that's just not here.
Well, like they have like flying saucers shown in the back of the Last Supper picture and shit like that. I mean, that's just one small detail of it, but
yeah, and that does exist, you know. So I don't want to rule it out, but I think it's unlikely.
I mean, would you consider like David Blaine that can do some really crazy shit? Like, would you kind of consider him to be on somewhat of the same kind of level as a Jesus type of thing? I mean, is it a lot of what he's doing does not seem like it is trickery or sleight of hand. It's actually some like miracle type shit, it seems like. I mean, right there you can see it. He does.
Well, him and Chris Angel both can fall into this conversation. And what I always think about is that in India, there are powers that are known as siddhis, S-I-D-D-H-I-S. And basically, those are the metaphysical equivalent of parlor tricks.
Okay.
They're little telekinesis tricks, they're little telepathy tricks, they're things like that, but they produce a huge effect.
Is it all using your chi energy, basically?
Basically, yeah.
From that?
Yeah, that's at the essence of it, yeah, is focus.
Okay.
Focus of your life force, focus of your energy, manipulation of the glandular system. So if anything, Blaine and Angel are more in line with that, where they may know some actual legitimate things that we could look at and say that's not sleight of hand. But does that equate to spiritual growth? Not necessarily.
Right. It's just kind of a, you know, a feat that is unexplainable, you know, like walking on water and that kind of thing. And you had mentioned one thing the last time that we had spoken that I wanted you to clarify for me and maybe for some others out there too. That, you know, that the Luciferian path, the left-hand path, is really nothing more, or not nothing more, but largely a tantric path. And so can you explain that for me a little bit to where I can better understand that?
Yeah, basically the concept of the left-hand path, the term the left-hand path, comes to us from Tantra. And in Tantra, the way that it's perceived is as the female path to enlightenment, or the female path to divinity. In contrast to the right-hand path, which is the masculine approach. So the masculine approach is the, what I lovingly call the here, hold my beer attitude towards spirituality. I'm just going to do this and see what the hell happens and make sense of it, or fill in the gaps on the back end. Where the feminine path says, I'm going to read the clues and the context that's around me and make an informed decision so I don't end up like the dumbass that just has me holding their flipping beer.
Sounds like my wife. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was known as the sinister path because it's a covert path. It's a hidden path. It's a subtle path. It's also a path of the self. And we can easily see now why one of the criticisms of this path is true, that this path is wrought with a lot of potential for pain. And the reason we can, or how we can extrapolate that from this tantric knowledge, is that every woman knows if you're going to give birth, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So anytime anybody on this path goes through an awakening and it's painful, well, that's right in line with the energetic of the path because it's a feminine path.
Right, that makes
sense. I
sense.
have yet to meet a man, though, that has developed a cycle, menstrual cycle every 30 days, though. So we may be safe on that.
I think I do have a period, but I don't think I really have a menstrual cycle. But I definitely have a period of bitchiness and mood swings for sure.
Yep, I totally get that.
Quite regularly, and I can definitely be a little bit of a bear to be around, you know. And that's just like I think we talked about before, and you probably are the same. You need a certain level of time for yourself to do whatever the fuck it is that you want to do, whether it be meditate, quiet time, read, get out in nature, whatever it is, just to get away from everybody else and just be you, do you, focus on you, and take in whatever it is that you want to take in without the outside influence of all the freaking bullshit and responsibilities. You know,
and that, my friends, is the essence of the left-hand path.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I love it. I love it then. You know, I mean, I'm still learning a great deal, and I know that's always going to be the case, and that's exciting for me. You know, it really is. I mean, there's so many variations and so much to learn. You know, it really is, and you know, I know that I will never attain it all, and I'll never learn it all. Maybe as lifetimes go on, like we talked about in my astrological reading, you know, in each lifetime, it's going to make more sense, and it's going to make even the next. I don't necessarily look forward to having to do all of this crazy life shit again, to be honest with you, because it's difficult as hell. You know, I might end up in a rice field, you know, like picking cotton or freaking, you know, like in rice paddies, like 18 hours a day, and being like, what the fuck, my last life was so much more content and convenient and afforded me all these luxuries, and now look at me. I know I have a lot to learn from it, but I'm not looking forward to that. Hopefully I've already transcended past all of those really, really hard ones.
Hopefully.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I really do. And I wanted to talk about the astrological chart that you did for me, you know, and for those of you out there that do not know about some of the services that Bill offers, that is one of them. And I've had my chart done before by some people online, which was very impersonal. It left a lot for me to try to interpret. I didn't understand a lot of it. A lot of it was very generalized and that kind of thing. But in my experience in working with Bill, that was not the case at all. This man offered me his personal time, probably way, way more than he should have. And he's like me. I give my clients a lot of my time. And I did not mean to take up so much of yours, and I'm sorry about that.
Nah, it was all good, brother.
But that was a great experience. And everyone I have talked to, I'm like, you know, if you really want to know where you've been and where you're going and what you're all about, and really understand at your core who you are and what you're meant for, you got to do it. You know, you got to get up with Bill and let him do that chart for you, because it's really going to open your eyes. It did for me in a tremendous way, and it gave me a lot of validation that I needed to help me move forward and to help empower me and to verify to me that I am on the right track, that I am doing the things that I am meant to do in this lifetime. And I mean, I'm still, you know, weeks later, just so excited about it. And I think that everybody needs to experience that, and experience it in the way that you present it, in the way that you put it together. It really just makes so much sense. And I mean, I would have paid 3 times the price for what that product and service that you provided. It was really that beneficial and that valuable to me.
Well, good. I'm glad you got something out of it, and that you're still getting something out of it. That's why I do it.
No doubt about it, man. I mean, and I hope to see that you're going to be doing a lot more of those. I'm sure you do a lot of them already, but I've really been putting the word out there, and I'm going to continue to do it because, you know, for one, I believe in what you're doing, but I had such a impactful, positive experience from it. I can't help but to talk about it, you know.
Well, thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated.
Say that again.
Thank you very much. It was greatly appreciated.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And what are some of the other things service-wise that you offer to your clients? I mean, I guess you have like mentorship programs and things like that.
Mentorship programs. I've got several courses available on my website. I also do a lot of classes and presentations in person, a lot of festivals. I think my next trip's to Paducah, Kentucky next weekend. Tomorrow I'm at Good Nature in Columbia, Missouri. But as you probably figure, during the spring and summer when festivals are happening, I go to a lot of festivals too. Mm-hmm. So Babylon Rising, I'm going to be at the Chrysalis Moon Festival next June up in, I want to say they're in Michigan. Don't quote me on that though. But a lot of things are already lining up. There's also a newsletter on my chart or on my site that people can subscribe to, a monthly blog, the charts, pretty much you name it, I'm offering it in some way.
And what's the website?
BillDuvendack.com.
Okay, great. Well, when are you ever going to make it out to the East Coast? Any festivals bringing you out to the East Coast at all?
Not as of now. Last November, I was at an astrological conference in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
But that's about the farthest east that I've made it so far.
Like a weekend type of deal?
Yeah, it was Thursday through Sunday, I think it was.
Okay.
I've been out to the West Coast a few times for PantheaCon, but I haven't made a lot of progress east yet, but I hope to correct that.
And so at these events, are you doing mostly speaking on different topics, or what exactly are you doing at these? Are providing
usually speaking on different topics. Some of them I'll do tarot readings at. Some of them I'll do workshops where it's more a working workshop.
Okay.
But yeah, those are generally the ones.
And with your mentorship programs, that can be anybody from day one entry level into magic and spirituality up to a seasoned practitioner that just wants to hone certain skills a little bit or work.
Exactly. And it's like the chart where it's more personalized.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how it is now. So I had one lady that wanted to study with me to prepare her for her entrance into Christopher Penczak's Temple of Witchcraft school. But then I just was talking to someone that is a fresh out of the box newbie.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do that. Another lady is a very experienced, seasoned practitioner who just wants to sharpen some things up. So it's really all over the boards.
So is it broken up into like certain levels of time commitment, or is that something that you all just decide upon? Like, we're going to do 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week?
We usually do, we usually meet for 1 hour a month.
Okay.
Usually Skype or in person, but then I send a syllabus with them of reading and work to do for the whole month.
Okay. And
so if they choose, if they choose to be lazy, then they're not going to get as much out of it.
And do you bust their ass, or what do you do?
I adjust the syllabus. If they're moving faster, we'll change it. If they're moving slower, we'll change it. I leave all the responsibility on them.
Okay, so no ass busting. So everybody can know there's not going to be any kind of that.
Yeah, but I do ask people, if you respond to that, I will do it.
So you'll break bad. You'll be like a sergeant in the military and tell them to get down and give me 20, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Yeah, if that's what it takes. And that's something that I want to get into as well. I mean, I do a little bit of, I guess, what you would call, mentoring, and more along the lines of like life coaching in conjunction with my healing work. And I find that to be the most fulfilling thing that I do, really, because you're able to see the transformation in the people that you're working with them to 3 months down the road, to 6 months down the road. You see them climbing the ladder in their career and coming more into their genuine self, their confidence and everything, going through the roof, which allows them to really be able to express themselves and be who they are meant to be. And there's just nothing more fulfilling than that, than to kind of be the catalyst for that change. I
completely agree. I love watching the success. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely do. And I definitely want to look into the Temple of Ascending Flame. I have been attracted to that for at least a year and a half, and I keep looking into it, go on the website, check it out, and never pursue it. Something keeps, maybe I wasn't ready for it, something just kind of keeps me from it. But I think that is something that I really need to take into consideration big time, and really do more than just dip my toes in the water and that kind of things. I think that would really help me a great deal.
Well, and just so you know, there are downloadable PDFs on the website of some of the rituals, so you can get a taste for the style without actually joining.
Yeah, I saw one with Nama, actually, and I was able to find the sigil for Nama, which I was not able to find anywhere else. you know, so it was an invocation for her, the sigil. I was like, hell yeah, like this is enough right here, man. And you know, and with the book Awakening Lucifer here, do you and Astronaut Mason, are you planning on doing any other collaborative work like this in the future too? And
we're already talking about several collaborative projects that we're going to do together. They're still a little ways off. She's got some projects that she's wrapping up. I got some stuff that I'm wrapping up too, but we are going to do a lot more together. And the new Temple anthology is coming out fairly soon too. So there's going to be all that work. Yeah, we're going to continue to forge ahead.
Does she have like her own publishing house for those type of things relating to the temple, or do y'all have someone that does that? Or
you know, honestly, that would be a question for her. Most of it for the temple is more it's more temple controlled. You know, but then like Awakening is through Become a Living God. She wrote the introduction and did the artwork for my Sat and Ampu book that just came out last Thursday, and that's with Edgar Curval.
Oh, let me write this down again. What is this now?
The first word is Sat, S-A-T. N-E-N.
Okay.
And then A-N-P-U. It translates to the Book of Anubis, and I released it with Edgar Curval last Thursday, the 2nd, on the Day of the Dead, and it is a book that's 100% focused on Anubis, and specifically his god of death mask. But section 2 in the book takes the same format that we used for Awakening Lucifer, and I have different death gods from different cultures and compare and contrast them to Anubis.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, I like that format, and we've talked about adapting that to future things too.
And they can find this on your website as well, access to this book, or where?
You can reach me through my website, and I'll point people in the direction of it. It's my banner picture on Facebook right now, so it's easiest to find it on Facebook or social media in general. Google Plus, I think I've got ads for it on there.
Now the Lucifer Chronicles, was that something that you and Astronaut worked on together as well?
So Lucifer Chronicles is Awakening Lucifer, and then one of the early anthologies of the temple, The Rites of Lucifer.
Okay.
So The Rites of Lucifer, the book itself, has contributions by a lot of people in the temple. It's not just her and I. But then Awakening Lucifer is her and I.
Is the Chronicles version, is that still available?
That I do not know. I believe so, but people would have to check with Become a Living God.
Yeah, I'm sure if it is, there's not many of them left. I don't know that I've seen it offered anymore, so it may have sold out.
Yeah, I haven't seen it offered either.
Now, some of your other earlier workings, like I saw that you had written a book called like Word Magic.
Vocal Magic? Mm-hmm.
Vocal Magic. Okay. And so what is that about? Is that just kind of about the power of the spoken word, the power of the tongue?
Exactly. Basic concepts. Be mindful of your speech. Watch what you say. Use your voice to create your reality.
Where can you find that? Is that something you find on Amazon or through your website?
Get it on Amazon. That one was published through Emanian Press.
Okay.
So you can also find it through them.
Any others that you have out there that you want to mention?
Well, I have a whole list, so those are the highlights for now.
Okay. You're a busy dude, man.
I was just updating it the other day, so it's just enough to hit the highlights on that for now. But yeah, then there's also spirit relations, metaphysics of magic.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. That was one I was very interested in.
Yeah, and then a whole list of anthologies with different essays in them too.
The Spirit Relations, is that the same publisher? Was it a Mammon
Yeah,
publisher?
Mandiant.
That,
Yeah, yeah. Vocal Magic and Spirit Relations are through Mandiant.
yeah, I want to check that one out. I saw that one, and that one really, really piqued my interest there, big time.
I think you'll like that one. It's meant as a how-to book.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's full of exercises.
Awesome. That's what I like, hands-on stuff, you know, to where I can really put it into practical use, and that it's not just a theory or ideology, that it's something that I can actually sit down with, work with, and, you know, get some results from, or have an experience from. You know, that's anything that I can feel and really throw myself into. That's what I love. That's what makes me tick, you know.
Yes, I do.
How long have you? Has this been something that you've done all your life? Writing?
Actually, at this point, basically, yeah. I've been walking this path of spirituality for about 30 years. So
wow,
the majority of my life has been spent with this in some way or another.
You look like you're 30 years old. So,
well, thank you for that. I'm not, but thank you for
that. yeah, absolutely. So I guess you're a cradle left-hand pather then.
Sort of. Like anything else, once puberty hit, there you go.
Wow. I wish that I would have given a fuck about that kind of stuff when I was that age. I was more into you know, getting in girls' pants and getting high as I could get on every drug possible. And yeah. that about sums it up.
Yep.
I was a late bloomer, but I'm trying to make up for lost time the best I can, for sure. And I plan on doing a lot of writing myself.
Nice.
And so I'm excited about that, and excited about a lot of things I've got coming up with Become a Living God, and some other things that are going to be branching off of that some kind of way that I really don't even know the details of yet, but I'm excited as hell to hear them, and I'll find out next week. But I'm also going to be doing some mini spell courses, video courses for them. The first one's going to be on money. The next one's going to be on love. After that, I'm not really sure, but you know, I'm really honored and really excited to be getting into that. I know that is going to be, you know, really the major door opening for me in the occult. And I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm ready for it, man. I'm excited as shit about it. I can't wait.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, man. And thank you again for coming on with me. And I mean, it's been a pleasure. I always love talking to you and feeling your energy, man. You know, you've got a very unique energy signature that makes people feel very comfortable and comforted and at ease. And I love that. I love that.
Well, thank you. It was wonderful to speak with you again. It's always nice having good conversations with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my voice is I lost my voice a little bit, so to understand me. But I definitely want to do this.
I got you.
And you have a channel too on YouTube I wanted to mention that people can check out. What is your name of your channel again?
I think it's just under my name. I think it's under just Bill Duvendack.
Duvendack. Okay.
I think so. I haven't been to it lately, but I think that's how it is.
Well, you got so much other shit going on. I don't blame you. People need to check that out too. So check out Bill's channel and sub that channel. All of the books that he's got out: Spirit Relations, Vocal Magic, Awakening Lucifer. You know, and part of that, the Lucifer Chronicles, and then Satanatu Anapu.
Yep.
That's a
Yeah, you got it.
out. And that is all about Anubis and some different correlations to other gods of death. Really, really interesting. So he's got all kinds of things out there that something for everyone, it sounds like. So check out his website, BillDuvendack.com. Reach out to him, and I'm sure that he will be happy to help you, and he will be happy to give you the best fucking astrological chart reading of your life. You got to do it. I highly recommend it. I've said it a million times, and I'm going to keep saying it because I believe in it that much, and it was that profound. If you guys don't do it, you're freaking idiots. You got to do it. I'm telling you, this guy is good. So, anyways, I appreciate it, Bill.
Oh, thank you much, brother. It was nice.
Man, next time let's do it on your channel. So you let me know when you want to do it, and I'll be there.
I will for sure.
And I'll be punctual.
It's all good.
This time, just this once. Take it easy, man. Thank you again, Bill.
Take it easy, brother. Have a good one.
You too, man. I'll see you soon.
All right.